the first quarterly general membership meeting of Shareholders Association of the Philippines, SharePhil. Our theme for today's GMMs, Passing the Torch, Insights from Business Veterans to Rising Leaders. Let us start by having our chair, Ms. Boots Garcia, to call the GMM to order.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, or SharePhil, I'd like to call this March 19 General Membership Meeting to order. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we praise and glorify your name as we all gather here in the harbor of your safety. We come to you in gratitude for bestowing us this opportunity to bring everyone together in this event. Today, we are privileged to formally induct new additions to our organization who will accordingly be presented by the SharePhil's president. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a hand to Mr. Dino Bate.
Today, we are honoring to formally induct 7 new members to the Shareholders of Association of the Philippines. As institutional members, I'd like to call on Joseph Adalbert Lagasto, DMCI Deputy CFO, Patricia Carmen Pineda, Group Investor Relations Head, PhilInvest Development Corporation, and PhilInvest REIT Corporation. Next is Renz Cruz II, Group Investor Relations Manager, PhilInvest Development Corporation, and PhilInvest REIT Corporation. Do I ask them to please stand in front for the induction? And then for regular members, we have 4 others. May I call on Joey Roy Bondoc, Research Director of Colliers, Hilaria Larry Concepcion, Phoenix Recruitment and Orientation Committee, Antonio Jacinto, Faculty, Ateneo Graduate School of Business, and last but not the least, Eduardo Sumulong, President, Managing Director, and Chief Executive Officer, Land Registration System Incorporated.
So may I request our new inductees to please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been accepted as member of Shareholders Association of the Philippines, do solemnly swear to abide by and uphold its articles of incorporation and bylaws, to commit and put into practice its core values and noble tenets of fairness, accountability, independence, transparency, and honor. I pledge to help promote awareness of shareholder rights through responsible advocacy and shareholder education, and in so doing, contribute to the building of investors' confidence and contribute to the development of the capital markets. This I pledge without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. So, on the recommendation of the Membership Committee and by virtue of the powers vested in me as Chairperson, I now formally admit you as new members of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. So, we have a short photo opportunity. Quickly. Today's gathering, with the theme, Passing the Torch, Insights from Business Veterans to Rising Leaders, is a pivotal moment for our community as we empower the next generation of business leaders through the rich legacy of experience of our business veterans, many of you whom are present today. Quoting a passage on passing the torch, you've got to have new stars, and you need people to pass the torch to build those stars. As we stand at the crossroads of transition and innovation, or tradition and innovation, our journey is illuminated by the wisdom of those who have steered our industries through both calm and stormy seas. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from a star of his generation, a visionary leader. And I'm delighted to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Isidro Consunji, whose remarkable career, may we give him a round of applause, please? Whose remarkable career and enduring insights have inspired countless entrepreneurs and professionals. In addition, we are honored to welcome the emerging stars of their generation, our distinguished panelists. Ms. Lorraine Belo-Cincochan, President and CEO of Wilcon Depot, Inc. Mr. Jose Paolo Delgado, President and CEO of Delbros Group. Ms. Lisset Laus-Velasco, Chairman and CEO of Laus Group of Companies. And finally, I'm not sure if he has arrived. Mr. Jose Franco Soberano, Senior Executive Vice President and COO of Cebu Landmasters, Inc. Their diverse experiences and groundbreaking leadership exemplify the spirit of excellence that Sharefield stands for. Let this meeting be a time of shared insights, collaborative growth, and inspiration. May the lessons imparted today spark innovative ideas and fortify our resolve as we continue to pass the torch to a new era of visionary leadership. Allow me to quote a leading female business leader, Sheryl Sandberg, who said, "Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence." So thank you for being here, and I wish you all a day filled with learning, connection, and forward-thinking dialogue. Magandang tanghali sa inyong lahat, and I would be remiss if I don't greet you Happy International Women's Month in March. Thank you very much, and welcome.
Today, we are thrilled to welcome her back as our host and moderator. With her wealth of experience, dynamic presence, and insightful perspective, we are confident that Ms. Drilon will guide today's discussions with a perfect blend of gravitas and approachability. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Ms. Ces Orenia Drilon.
Thank you, Mai, for such a generous introduction. I hope I'll be up to the task. But let's get down to business. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Isidro Consunji, a true luminary in the world of business and infrastructure. At 74, Mr. Consunji stands at the helm as chairman and president of DMCI Holdings Incorporated, where his strategic vision and steadfast leadership have been pivotal in steering one of the Philippines' most respected conglomerates. His remarkable career spans decades and encompasses a wide array of industries, from construction and mining to power and infrastructure. In addition to his role at DMCI Holdings, Mr. Consunji holds key leadership positions across numerous companies. It's quite a long list, so bear with me. He chairs Semirara Mining and Power Corporation, DM Consunji Incorporated, DMCI Masbate Power Corporation, DMCI Mining Corporation, DMCI Power Corporation, DMCI Project Developers Incorporated, COL Industrial Park Developers Incorporated, Calaca Power Corporation, Calaca Rest Corporation, Semirara Claystone Incorporated, Southwest Luzon Power Generation Corporation, and Wire Rope Corporation of the Philippines. He also serves as Vice Chairman for Maynilad Water Holdings Company Incorporated and Maynilad Water Services Incorporated, and sits on the board of Atlas Consolidated Mining and Development Corporation. Mr. Consunji's academic credentials are as impressive as his professional achievements. A Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of the Philippines laid the foundation for his career, which was further enriched by advanced degrees in Business Economics and Management from the University of Asia and the Pacific, the Asian Institute of Management, and the IESE School in Barcelona. His contributions have been recognized with numerous accolades, including an honorary doctorate in management from AIM in 2024, the title of Most Distinguished Alumnus by the UP Alumni Association in 2024, and back-to-back recognitions as Asia's Best CEO by Corporate Governance Asia and the Asian Excellence Awards in 2023 and 2024. In 2022, he was honored as MAP Management Man of the Year. Beyond the boardroom, Mr. Consunji is deeply committed to public service and industry advancement. He currently chairs the Philippine Overseas Construction Board, serves on the board of the Construction Industry Authority of the Philippines, and is a trustee for both the Asian Institute of Management and the Cultural Center of the Philippines. His previous leadership roles include presidencies of the Philippine Constructors Association and the Philippine Chamber of Coal Mines. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Isidro Sid A. Consunji, a visionary leader whose steadfast commitment and innovative approach have played a pivotal role in shaping our nation's future. Mr. Consunji.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Cess. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to be here as your keynote speaker. This is my first time attending the Sharefield event, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be among such a distinguished group of professionals. When Herbie invited me to talk to you about succession, I had to say yes, not because I'm a fan of the topic, but you do not say no to someone you respect. So I'm here now, stepping out of my comfort zone, hoping my thoughts on succession contribute to a meaningful discussion later on. Family and succession are complex issues on their own, but when combined, they become even more challenging. The fact that it's been turned into an HBO series and frequently appears in case studies in business journals and management publication illustrates how critical and often contentious family succession can be in real world. Whether you're a company founder, a next generation leader, or advisor to such businesses, navigating succession presents unique challenges. You have to balance family and business interests, which for a number of reasons do not always align. You have to select the right successor who may or may not come from the family. This perhaps is the most divisive decision in the succession process. And after a successor has been selected, You have to prepare that person and the family for leadership transition. It could take months or years. The 1980s were a tough year for DMCI as political instability led to layoffs and uncertainty. This was when I pushed for diversification, not to go against the grain, but I thought it was a way to go forward. That decision shaped the DMCI group we see today, starting a construction company when we went public in 1995. We have since expanded into sectors that complements our engineering DNA. But our growth comes with new challenges. When a company is publicly listed, the stakes and accountability are even higher. Beyond family dynamics and emotion, succession decision must consider corporate governance, shareholder confidence, and long-term sustainability of the business. In the case of DMCI Holdings, there's another layer of complexity because of the diverse nature of our business portfolio. Before, we only need to plan succession for only one company in one business, DM Consunji Incorporated. Today, we have companies in real estate, mining, power, coal, water, and cement industries. Each one has its own unique challenges, opportunities, and demands for leadership. Finding and placing the right successor in the right company at the right time has become increasingly complicated. Do you appoint somebody with institutional knowledge or someone who can drive transformation? How important is cultural fit? Should you prioritize short-term performance or long-term potential? Or what are you willing to compromise? Expertise, vision, or values? These are the kind of questions that make succession planning both an art and a science. If only succession planning were something you could simply prompt ChatGPT or DeepSeek to analyze and resolve, that would be easy. The reality, however, is that even in all case studies, algorithms and computing power we have today, there's no formula or shortcut for succession planning because it involves intangibles like understanding personal dynamics, aligning values, engaging the cultural fit of the leader, elements that goes beyond resumes, industry knowledge, and skill sets. As the current leader passes the baton or the successor steps into leadership, it is crucial that we ensure the transition is not only smooth, but honors the past hard work, legacy, and relationships that have been built over time. In my 60s, when the investor asked me about succession planning and leadership transition, I would always shrug it off. That's not a problem. But when COVID-19 pandemic hit and I lost a few friends and peers unexpectedly, it became very clear to me that mortality is inevitable. It was then I realized how urgent and important it was to plan for the future, not just for the company, but for the people who rely on it. After building on my father's legacy and expanding our group to over 33,000 employees, the last thing I want to leave them is without a sense of security when I step away from the company. My father, David Consunji, officially retired in 2014 at the age of 93. Even when he was 90s, he would still go around construction work, meticulously drilling our project managers on their work program. Last January, I turned 76. Well, I have no intention of working until the 90s. I think I have a few more years before I officially retire from the DMCI group. I would like to spend that time ensuring a smooth transition, positioning our organization for continued success, while allowing myself to enjoy the fruits of my labor and pursue other interests. So what am I going to do to ensure a smooth transition? A lot, but I'm not certain whether it is enough. Earlier, I outlined 3 basic steps for succession planning. It was easy for them to include the speech in a PowerPoint presentation, but putting them into action requires careful planning, time, and collaboration. I realize now that succession planning cannot be done overnight or in isolation. Fortunately, I'm not alone in this process. I have my siblings, our professional managers, our board of directors, who share my commitment in DMCI Group sustainability. In the last 5 years, we have been actively working to identify and develop future leaders, to strengthen our corporate governance, and ensure that the organization will be prepared for the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead. My sister Christina leads structured leadership programs that provide participants and opportunities for purpose and develop innovative projects, execute these ideas within their roles, and gain hands-on leadership experience. To date, more than 300 individuals have completed this management development and strategic business economic programs. Many of these graduates now hold executive and managerial positions both within and beyond the DMCI Group, proving that our investment in leadership development is yielding tangible results. We've also consulted with several professional advisors and institutions, including IMD Business School, Asian Institute of Development Management, regarding succession planning in family businesses to help our family members identify and establish their role within the company. We also prioritize hiring and developing local talent. More than 99% of our managerial pool consists of Filipinos, demonstrating our commitment to strengthening homegrown leadership. In our outlying facilities, we hire mostly host communities to create opportunities to support local employment, contribute to regional development, and ensure that our workforce is connected to the areas where we operate. For our family members, I hold weekly mentorship sessions with my nephews and nieces. We evaluate business opportunities and brainstorm strategies to grow our companies. While these sessions started about a decade ago, they have intensified over the last 5 years to accelerate leadership development. They also attend our company's board meetings to gain exposure to high-level decision-making, understanding governance principles, and knowing the people that works in the company. By observing the dynamics of board interactions, they also learn the valuable insights and expertise of our independent directors. Family members who choose to join the DMCI Group must be prepared to contribute to the organization's success. This means having the right education and professional experience. While we do not require advanced degrees or extensive time spent in working in other countries, we do expect them to develop valuable skills and contribute to the table. They must also demonstrate a strong work ethic, uphold our core values, especially sincerity, and be willing to learn and grow within the chosen or assigned company. Equally important, they must learn how to work with each other, which is sometimes not very easy. Our professional managers, business partners, and regulators. As my father often reminded me and my sibling, as I continue to tell our next generation family, none of us are exceptional in our own. We must learn to work together, otherwise we will fail. Another important lesson that I always share with our next generation leaders, whether they're family members or professional managers, is the importance of gaining flying hours before assuming full responsibility. Education and showing up are necessary but not enough. To become a leader, you must learn from real-world experiences, apply those lessons correctly, and to borrow from management expert Peter Drucker, it's about focusing on getting the right things done. Real growth happens when you're tested, when you make tough decisions, and when you navigate uncertainties and complexities to guide the company forward. This is something I learned early on. When I was younger, I had the opportunity to know my father's business partner. One moment that stands out when I received a telephone call from Henry C. Sr., Tatang, asking me about something, and I felt that it was moment that said that my father was able to transfer his business partner's relationship into me. So to me, that was a very important moment. Now I try to do the same, introducing our emerging leaders to key relationships, guiding them through business dynamics, and teaching them the spoken words of leadership. We ensure that they participate in high-level meetings, not just as observers, but as contributors, lead actual projects, make tough decisions, face crises that test their ability, and to think in their feet. Those who are familiar with the DMCI Group know that we are not formal, rigid, or bureaucratic. This flexibility is the core of our culture and operations, allowing us to adapt quickly to changes and respond effectively to challenges. We believe in empowering individuals, regardless of their position and background, to step up, take initiative when the situation calls for. This approach is reflected in our succession strategy, where we embrace the idea that anybody can be called to rise at any time. By removing rigid structures and hierarchies, we have created an environment where potential leaders can emerge organically based on their abilities and contributions rather than their surnames, title, or tenure. We aim to move away from personality-driven leadership and focus instead on building a leadership culture that is rooted in collaboration, shared values, and collective strength of the team. This ensures that leadership is not dependent on one individual, but is distributed across those who have the vision, the capability, and the commitment to move the DMCI Group forward. For several years now, I've stepped away from day-to-day operation, serving instead as chairman across several subsidiaries to focus on strategy and long-term vision. This is my version of semi-retirement. Well, I'm not ready to formally announce my successor. I do have a few names in mind. In the meantime, I'm actually mentoring key individuals to build a strong bench of leaders and middle management. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not entirely sure if I am doing enough in terms of succession planning. However, I'm confident we have built a strong foundation in a robust leadership pipeline. When I fully retire, I'll have the opportunity to explore the world, pursue personal interests, all with the peace of mind that comes with knowing that the DMCI Group is in capable hands regardless of who takes the reign. And when that time comes, I look forward to sharing my travel adventures and experiences with you. Maraming po salamat at magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat.
Jose Paulo L. Delgado is President and CEO of the Delgado Brothers Group, or Delbros, a privately held 79-year-old corporation. Throughout his tenure, he has embraced diverse roles, from accelerating startups and executing acquisitions to reimagining legacy companies. He successfully led the company through a significant restructuring in the late 2000s, expanding its portfolio beyond core logistics into over a dozen industries, including logistics and transport, technology, agriculture, and investments. Jose Paulo also serves on the boards and advisory committees of United Parcel Service Philippines, Eurocloud, Kane Express Group, Good Greens and Company, Snap Energy, and the Young Presidents Organization, among others. He has previously contributed his expertise to the COVID-19 Interagency Task Force and Aeon Group. Collaborating with policymakers and industry leaders, he advocates for increased investment in research and development and entrepreneurship accelerators to address the challenges of hunger and malnutrition, with the goal of achieving global food security through technology and automation. Please welcome Mr. Jose Paulo Delgado.
Thank you for having me here. Of course, I'm very happy to support SharePhil and the initiatives of SharePhil. You've put me in a spot because you put me behind such a titan in Philippine industry, in Mr. Sid Consunji. So I'll do the best I can to share a little bit about my background and how I view succession and leadership. So a bit about me. I spent about 10 years in the US studying business, finance, and entrepreneurship. I then worked for Morgan Stanley. I was a bit of a wayward child, so my time abroad was really formative in the sense that it gave me a lot of background in the business space and helped me understand that this is what I wanted to do with my life. Finishing from school, it was China that everyone was talking about, so I left Morgan Stanley, moved out to China, and spent about 5 years of my life in Beijing working in manufacturing and investments, learning the Chinese culture and learning how to do business there. It was about 2009 that I was called back. My father was a little ill at the time, and we were hit quite hard by the 2008 crisis. So I came back to what was then a 7-year-old burning ship. Our business plans were outdated. The management team was very outdated. We were bleeding hundreds of millions per month. We were not going to survive too much longer at the current rate of our companies. And what I soon understood was that our investments overseas were covering up very poor foundations in our local industries, in the local industries that we operated in. So it was quite an eye-opener. And within that maybe 5-year period, we sold off our warehousing group, which was the largest at the time. We pared down our trucking group from 2,000 or 3,000 at the time down to maybe 1-3. We moved on 80% of our management team. And all of this in logistics, which we were 99% of our group at the time. So it was a very hard period for myself personally and for the company. But looking back, I realized that this was the succession that I needed with my father and with the board. And that 5 or 6 years and the small training that I had spent abroad allowed me to come in smoothly, or rather be accepted by our partners, by the shareholders, and by the different managers. So it was an instrumental time, and it was also an exciting time for me because it allowed me to then chart the path of the group moving forward. So looking at our profile, we were 99% logistics with air freight, ships, etc. We are now about 50%. We've opted to move out of logistics because we don't feel that we're able to compete effectively with regional or international players. We made this choice about 15 years ago with the board, and it turned out to be quite prescient because now what we're seeing is the bigger competitors in our country are actually foreign. And they've got deeper pockets, deeper know-how, and a domestic market in their countries to compete. So I'm a little worried about our local transport industry in the Philippines, but also interested to see how all of us can adapt and change. So my contribution so far, all of 15 or almost 20 years now, we've moved into farming. So we've mechanized in the sugar industry. We're one of the first that has, or the first that has set up vertical farms in the country, technology-driven 4-story farms, which incidentally are losing money and are not commercially viable, but still very good for learning and tech. We're making investments now in solar wind sail companies and basically just trying to figure out how to move further out of our logistics platform into technology and similar. So that's my background. And if I were to add just a bit on leadership, perhaps I'd say, at least for Mr. Consunji, myself, and the other panelists, family businesses are fascinating because we're trying to make decisions that are 50 years down the line. I mean, how many companies look at your families or your industries and try to make long-term decisions that affect generations that may not even be born? So it's a lot of responsibility. It's very exciting. It's a little scary, especially in the world today with so much information, so much competition, and frankly, so much empowerment in different family members that may be shareholders and different stakeholders that you have in your company. So, every day that I come into the office, I always have to wear the hat of both a shareholder, family member, of which I may not be leading anything in the specific function of that family, and of course as a business leader, right, and a stakeholder in the country. So it's a lot of weight, and I'm thankful to COVID because in a sense, it put more of a highlight on family-run corporations. It showed us that we're resilient. It showed us that we have the ability to chart path through complexity. And we're finally, I think, getting a little bit of credit and due, where in the past it was the public companies that were always seen as the the sort of businesses that you want to emulate. So with that, perhaps I can turn it back over to Ses, and thank you.
Lorraine Belo-Cincochan is a director, president, and the chief executive officer of Wilcon Depot Incorporated. She has held various positions in the family business, starting out as a trainee under her father, who was the president of Wilcon. In 2000, she headed the company's IT department that resulted in the beginnings of the company's digital transformation journey of Wilcon's key processes. From 2003 to 2005, she was assigned to manage the daily operations of the first ever large format Wilcon Depot branch as a manager trainee, where she gained real-world experience in retail operations. She was then appointed as Executive Vice President for Operations in 2005, and in 2006 became the company's Executive Financial Officer, holding the position until March 2016. In 2018, she was recognized as one of the 2018 Forbes Asia Emergent Women honorees. Please welcome Ms. Belo-Cincochan.
I'd like to preface also that I'm not a professional speaker or no, I'd like to just really share my experience, and I hope you can resonate with some of my lessons. So I hope all of you are familiar with who Wilcon is. We are a 48-year-old company. I kind of can't believe it. It's going to be, sorry, the slides are not sliding. Oh, there. So just as a brief overview, so we are a retail chain of home improvement products, for those maybe who are not so familiar. We are usually at about 8 to 10,000 square meters, and we have sort of revolutionized the way we do home improvement. So if you'll remember, siguro the others, if you buy hardware or tiles, it used to be very, you know, non-air conditioned, dusty, and a bit of a chore. So what my father did, our founder, really was to modernize the way we bought home improvement materials. So fast forward, now we are, sorry, the clicker is not working. We're now at 101 stores, actually. As of a couple of weeks ago, I was just in Tuba, Benguet, so we opened 101, and we will be opening store 102 in a couple of weeks here in Cubao, Quezon City. So lots of store openings. But maybe I can share with you my story of the very first store opening I attended 22 years ago. It was a January where I was with my dad, our founder, first generation. We were walking down the construction site of the store, which was along Alabang Zapote Road. So that was really one of the biggest, or the first store that we opened at Big Box. And I remember I can still smell the acrid paint and the construction dust. And he was really larger than life to me. He would say, okay, we would put product here, we would have delivery vans here, everything was just centralized through him. And at the time, as a family enterprise, a lot of our decision making, a lot of our processes were really centralized to one person. I think entrepreneurially, that's how it starts, right? When you open up a new business. But I thought to myself, this would become a really big challenge as an organization's sustainability. I resonate very much with Mr. Consunji's keynote. Talaga, it's sustainability and how to move forward in growing that business. And so, the challenges really for me, I've seen the way we grew, is balancing that gut feel, that very strong entrepreneur, with how we can modernize the way we do things in the business. When I first came in, you know how the payroll slip was just in an envelope and then you just pass it and it's all papel sign, right? So it's a lot of little things like that that I really work to modernize, but also still understand the gut feel, the experience that went into building up this organization. And that meant decision-making should be more data-driven. Because previously, it was all really, okay, let's put up a store in Alabang Zapote. Maybe we can put up another store here. Really, it was about opportunity and, okay, let's put it there. The market looks good. But I saw that more robust decision-making could be made with more data and more information. And that was one of the things I really worked on. Of course, decision-making is also something that we cannot centralize to one or a few people. So that's why my other challenge was really empowering teams. And when you empower teams, you also need governance and structure. And that was like one of the third challenge that I had. So given all these challenges, I had 3 focus areas: operational efficiency, workplace culture, and talent acquisition or talent management. The first was obviously when you grow very fast or when you grow a lot of things maybe are not so efficient. Maybe the first foray into it, you make mistakes. And I saw a lot of that when we were growing 3, 4, 5 stores a year. Next to that, because I wanted to look at the efficiencies, I also had to look at culture. Because decision-making was very centered around a few people, culture was really, how would you say, waiting for what to do. But I saw that there was really a potential for empowerment of people, that you would have collaboration and innovation. And the third, of course, you cannot have collaboration and innovation if you don't have the right people in the right seats and developing their competencies. And so these 3 pillars were my focus points in the last 20 plus years that I've been working at Wilcon. The first layer of focus, the first layer that I had to look at was really technology. I am a great believer in technology as an enabler, and I believe that you cannot grow and you cannot be a larger organization or manage an organization if you do not have the proper technology. It's not about, for me, like, oh, the latest and greatest, maybe AI, but rather how I can help enable people in the organization to give that customer service to our customers. It's really about customer centricity. And so, apart from the IT, we also needed to do compliance in documentation. And if you don't have a good IT system, you can't have very good documentation and compliance. So maybe it's not very sexy, there's no AI or anything, but I think this is something that I really worked on that I believe helped with becoming more resilient and sustainable as a business. Another layer that I put in was looking at strengthening governance. When we went public about 9 years ago, that was something very apparent, that became very, very apparent to me. And I would say that's one of the advantages of going public. Like, in your face, it's governance, it's risk management. And I feel that that was like a light bulb moment for me, because sustainability, how do I make it grow my generation and the next generation? One foundation of that is really governance. And so we had invited, of course, independent directors, and we also have independent advisors from different industries, such as supply chain, procurement, finance, things that I knew that we didn't have as a competency, but I knew we needed to grow the business. So these 2 foundations, the question is, what about our challenges? As retail, we are in the retail industry. I'm sure you know that the way people shop now is very different. It's all on the phone. And that's been one of our challenges. Looking forward, looking to, people ask us, oh, 100 stores na, what's next? 200. It's not an easy question to answer, but it's something that we face the challenge because we know that the industry right now, it's about online growth, And maybe it's not necessarily more brick and mortar, but rather a combination of the two. And so that's number one for us. And the other one is supply chain optimization, because a lot of retailers, especially online retailers, they're really going for very, very tightly knit supply chain. You manufacture in China, you ship it halfway around the world, right? It's really something that is perhaps an unseen challenge or unseen advantage for retailers. It's all about whether the product is right there on the shelf. Otherwise, I will just check it out somewhere else. The third challenge is evolving customer behavior. We are now at Gen Z, and we have Gen Alpha coming online. And that's something that, you know, as maybe managers or bosses, it's a bit difficult aligning with the Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Paano pa yung mga customer na Gen Z and Alpha? So that's really something we're looking to figure out as well. So, the last couple of slides. Throughout the couple of decades that I've been working at Wilcon, I remember a conversation I had with my dad. Sabi ko, you know what? I cannot fill your shoes. I remember some years back, sabi ko, your shoes are too big. I really cannot fill it. And I'm not like you. And I remember him saying, just do what you can. And I feel that a second generation, I would say a lot of second generation, feel this pressure on their shoulders now. Your parents or your founders are super galing, larger than life, and you're just like, how do I do that, right? And one of the little inner struggles as a second gen is gaining respect from people within and people without. And so, I don't know, I'm being emotional. So, you know, that's a bit of a struggle that I've had to really work to overcome. But I'm thankful that I have a good leadership team who supports me. And so, the last part here is really just a rehash of what I just mentioned. It's really to professionalize our governance and put more structure into our organization. Next. So this is just a slide on some statistics that I thought was interesting from a PwC Next Gen survey. It talks about perspective. So I mentioned earlier, I told my dad, alam mo, I cannot fill your shoes. And his perspective is, okay lang. My perspective is no. So ito, yung clarity of roles, the current generation, yes, it's clear, 74% of them say yes. And the next gen are like, 63% of us only say yes, you have to do more. The next is clear governance structure. So normally the first gen, or at least, you know, in our business, no, it's very clear. It's very, you know, okay lang. But, you know, the next gen, only about half say it is. There's still lots of work to be done. And I feel that there's still also lots of work to be done. And internal resistance to embrace change. Change is always difficult. And I learned that you need to be comfortable with change. It's very uncomfortable. Next slide. So last couple of slides. I learned very early on, change management is very important. I feel that this isn't given much emphasis in schools, but to change someone's mind is the most difficult thing. And to change an organization's mind and the way they do things, it's incredibly difficult. And that's something I've been practicing for the last couple of decades. The other challenge I have is the flexibility in working with Gen Zs, Alpha, X, baby boomers. Recently, I just had a meeting with one of our teams. We experimented. We had Gen Zs present a program for approval who had a Gen Y mentor and a Gen X to do oversight. So these things, change management, trying to see what floats up to the top and what will work. And so those things I feel that is the way moving forward. We need to be inclusive and give other points of view a chance to speak. And the last is balancing hands-on management. My dad is a very hands-on person. And that's something that I try to balance because I don't want to micromanage, but I also want to guide and mentor. And that's a continuing struggle or a continuing challenge with a lot of our leadership team. Next slide. So just a little quick slide for a founder's core values. I feel that all of this should still be part of our DNA as a company. And it's something that my father established and I don't want to lose. Even if I put structure and governance and data-driven decision-making, I don't want to lose all of this because in the name of I want my new ways of doing things. Because I think the old ways of doing things with the new way of doing things gives for a much better result. And so finally, it's about adaptation, what's happening right now and how do we adjust to it, because change is always inevitable. And I really need to balance flexibility with change. And at the very last, I don't want to let go or forget what was of the past that my dad did and still be in the present, looking to facing all the challenges. And my very, very last point, I feel that it's stewardship. God gave us all of this to steward. And I am grateful for the blessing of having such rich legacy to uphold and hopefully to multiply and pass on. Thank you very much.
Our next panelist is Lisset Laus-Velasco. She's the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Laus Group of Companies since 2019. Prior to her appointment as Chair and CEO, she was the Chief Operating Officer of the Laus Group of Companies and held the position for 5 years. As a Chairman and CEO, she steers the wheel of a highly diversified Pampanga-based conglomerate founded 46 years ago by her late father, Levi P. Laus. With more than 80 automotive dealerships all over central and northern Luzon, LGC has businesses spanning the automotive, non-life insurance, financing, food, media, hospitality, and real estate industries. For the past 4 years, Ms. Velasco has been recognized by various leadership and women entrepreneurship organizations. The local government of Pampanga recently conferred her the 2024 Most Outstanding Kapampangan for Business last December. In February 2024, one of the country's premier newspapers cited her as one of the Inquirer Women of Power recipients. She was awarded as one of the 10 leading women entrepreneurs from the Philippines by the ASEAN Women Entrepreneurs Network in 2023. In 2022, Ernst & Young named her as Woman Entrepreneur of the Year Philippines. She's also an honoree and the only woman recipient of the 2021 Salute to Dealer Award given by Ford Motor Company globally and the only representative in the International Markets Group. Aside from being the chairman and CEO of the Laus Group, she sits in the board of NLEX Corporation as an independent director and one of the current trustees of the Philippine Business for Social Progress, or PBSP, the largest business-led NGO in the country. She's also been in different board positions in the Entrepreneurs Organization of the Philippines, where she was president in 2020 until 2021. A year after, she stepped up to a regional role as area director for EO APAC, covering 5 countries in Southeast Asia. Furthermore, she has been active in the Philippine Automotive Dealers Association as corporate secretary and a member of the Young Presidents Organization, YPO Philippines Gold. Ms. Velasco graduated from De La Salle University College of St. Benilde with a degree in Bachelor of Arts in Human Resource Management. She obtained her master's degree in business management at the Asian Institute of Management. Please welcome Lisset Laus-Velasco.
So this time I'll read through my presentation because I wanted to keep within the allotted time given me. So first and foremost, I want to thank Share Philippines, of course, Ms. Boots, for encouraging me and inviting me to come over. So it's an opportunity actually for me to be here today. And of course, I would like to acknowledge the panelists later, and of course, thank you, Mr. Consunji, for sharing your story as well. So it is an honor to be among leaders who bring such depth of experience and insight to today's topic. So when we hear the phrase, passing the baton, we often think of a seamless, well-rehearsed transition, a structured handover where everyone knows their role and is prepared to step up when the time comes. But in reality, it's not always like that. In my case, stepping into leadership wasn't a gradual process. It was sudden, unexpected, and deeply personal. My father, Levi P. Laus, built the Laus Group from ground up. He was the heart and the soul of the business. And then one day, he was gone. There was no time for transition plans or gradual immersion. My siblings and I had to step up, ready or not. Losing him was not just a personal loss. It was a defining moment that reshaped our entire world. Suddenly, we were no longer just part of the company. We were responsible for it. We were no longer just his children. We were stewards of his vision. The weight of that responsibility was immense, and the journey that followed was anything but easy. Looking back, I realized leadership isn't just about taking on a role. It's about carrying it forward and ensuring that the next generation is ready when their time comes, no matter the circumstance. And through the experience, I've learned 5 profound lessons about succession, not as a process, but as a personal journey. First, leadership is built from the ground up. One of the greatest gifts my father gave me was exposure. He never handed us leadership. He made sure we earned it. When I was younger, I spent a summer working as a cashier at our gas station, while my kuya, my brother, Paul, worked as a gas attendant. Later, I assisted in drafting insurance policies and handling accounting tasks. I worked in sales, met with customers, and experienced firsthand what it meant to be on the ground. At the time, I didn't realize the significance of these experiences. But looking back, I see how they shaped me. Working from the ground up taught me humility and gave me a deep appreciation for the people who make our business run. Leadership is not just about making decisions at the top. It's about understanding the work, the people, and the culture from the bottom up. Second, a strong support system makes all the difference. Leadership is not a solo journey. No man is an island. And in my experience, it truly takes a village to make things happen. I am incredibly fortunate to have my siblings not just as family, but as business partners. Our foundation was built on shared values of integrity, resilience, and a commitment to excellence. These values guided us through our most difficult moments. But beyond family, I've come to appreciate the support system that surrounds us. From the professionals who advise us, to the dedicated team members who work tirelessly with us, to the community that supports and believes in our vision, in fact, our mission. The people around you, your mentors, your peers, your team, play a critical role in shaping your leadership journey. Their wisdom, their experience, and collaboration create the environment that allows us to thrive as leaders. And of course, I also had the support of my parents in other ways. They nurtured my love for art, for music, and culture, which shaped how I see the world and how I lead. Leadership is not just about strengthening the company. It's about enriching oneself with experiences that make you a more well-rounded person and a decision maker. Third, learning doesn't stop at your doorstep. Inside the company, we develop our own standards of excellence. But true growth happens when we step outside our own walls. I've learned so much from engaging with organizations like EO, YPO, and PBSP. Being part of these groups exposed me to different perspectives and best practices that I wouldn't have encountered if I only had focused on our own business. Leadership is about continuous learning. It's about seeking out mentors, expanding our perspectives, and understanding that no matter what and how much we know, there is always more to learn. Fourth, the best mentorship comes from real-life experience. My father was my greatest mentor, but he never sat me down for structured lessons. Instead, he taught by example, and of course, our weekend breakfast chat. I learned by watching him lead, how he handled challenges, made decisions, and treated people. The lessons he imparted weren't just spoken, they were lived. Now, as I take on my own leadership journey, I realize that mentorship isn't about creating a perfect plan for the next leader. It's about shaping an environment where they can lead by doing, just as I did. The best way to pass the baton is not by telling, but by showing. By being the kind of leader others can learn from, even in the smallest moments. And fifth, adaptability is a key to lasting leadership. If there is one lesson that stands out above all, it's that leadership is never about standing still. Just 10 months after my dad passed, my siblings and I stepped up. The world changed overnight. The pandemic hit, and we face crisis after crisis. COVID pandemic, the supply chain disruption, shifting markets, and the economic uncertainty. We had to make decisions in real time with no playbook to follow. It was overwhelming, but what I realized is that true leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to adopt. It's all about honoring the past while embracing change. My father laid the foundation, but it was up to us to evolve, to innovate, and to move forward. Looking back, I've come to understand that passing the baton is not a final destination. It is not a single event that ends when the next leader takes over. It is a continuous process of learning, evolving, and adopting. In our case, we had no choice but embrace that journey. And we're still on it today. As we move forward, we continue to sharpen our skills to grow as individuals and to prepare the next generation, not just within our family, but across the organization. Because leadership doesn't stop when the baton is passed. It is a responsibility that we carry every day in the way we lead, in the decisions we make, and in how we empower those who will eventually take the baton from us. I think of my father's vision very often. I had the privilege of working under his company and eventually alongside him for 25 years. And in many ways, I still feel his presence, not just in memory, but in the lessons and values he instilled in us. Because in the end, the true test of leadership is not how we'll hold the baton, but how we prepare the next generation to carry it forward, and to do so even better than we did. As I continue this journey together with our mom, Tess, my siblings, my Kuya Paul, Carissa, Adrian, and Jorella, I know that both my personal growth and the growth of the company will remain a work in progress. And that's exactly how it should be. So I leave you now with this quote that deeply resonates with me. True success comes when your successor succeeds. So I leave that with you, and thank you for listening.
We have Franco Soberano, who joined Cebu Landmasters in 2010. In his capacity as EVP and COO, Franco directs the ground-up operations and leads the project delivery cycle from acquisitions to business development, technical planning, construction, sales, documentation, customer services, and property management. Franco has been instrumental in the company's diversification and expansion efforts. After starting out as a residential builder, CLI's developments now encompass a wide array of residential, office, retail, hospitality, mixed-use, and township projects. Since joining CLI, the company's portfolio has grown from 12 developments to now over 100 developments across 16 key VisMin hubs and cities. Prior to joining the company, he worked for 4 years as a project manager at a multinational firm. Franco graduated with a BS Management degree, major in legal management, minor in finance from the Ateneo de Manila University. In 2012, he graduated with a Master of Science degree in real estate development from Columbia University in New York. As an active member of the community, Franco is a founding member of the Global Shapers Cebu Hub, an initiative of the World Economic Forum. He has also served as president of the Sacred Heart School, Ateneo de Cebu Alumni Association from 2014 to 2018. For putting the community at the heart of real estate development, he was selected as one of the top 40 leaders of tomorrow in the 2021 Gen T Tatler list. In 2022, he was appointed as the Honorary Consul of Finland in Cebu. Please welcome Franco Soberano.
These kinds of talks are very, I would say, important to me. It's really a chance to share. We're fortunate in the second generation to really learn a lot. Parang in a way, we take the biggest blows, but we grow the most in the second generation. So just sharing for you today, I have 5 insights in 10 minutes to share. Basically what I learned from my father, or the heaviest insights that mean a lot to me. So the first insight, just take this. First insight is being resourceful. You know, when I started in Cebu Landmasters in 2010, Boss Joe, or my dad, kept saying, be resourceful, Frank, be resourceful. I kept reflecting on what he meant. Is it because we lacked resources because we were very small? So resourceful, basically what he wanted us to do was really to find a way. We were a small player. We had less than 20 employees. And basically we had to find a way. We had to push hard. So next, please. So this was me in 2010. Basically that was my team over there, no? We were smiling but overworked, understaffed. But we were lucky to have such a visionary founder. Of course, my father spent more than 23 years with Ayala Group, ran for Congress, lost, and because he lost, he set up this company. We call it a blessing in disguise. Or else I would have been Senator Franco Soberano. Dynasty, yeah, we speak well. So this was actually our project number 7, a mid-rise building, and it was resourceful, no? We would look for properties that the bigger players would not even dare to look at, because that was our only chance back then. So this was 50 meters from the highway. The other players were able to afford prime property along the highway, and my father, using that word resourcefulness, but 50 meters from the highway, it's still a beautiful property. So it sold out in 3 months. No? So our 8th project. So this one led to, so this was me. Just last year, we rang a bell 14 years after our preferred shares listing. So that's my father, my boss, my partner, my mentor, Joe. And it's really been a journey, no? From that resourcefulness attitude has not waned or has not wavered. So it has evolved into larger projects. Next, please. So our portfolio grew from that 8th project to now over 120 projects in the last 15 years. So from being a one-trick pony doing residential, that resourcefulness, that hunger, that drive, that feeling of having no resources, no? Really asks us to be creative, to be innovative, to be entrepreneurial. So we do everything from affordable, mid-market, high-end residential, to offices, to hotels, to mixed use, and to estate projects. Next. So some of our projects, so my resourcefulness allowed us to expand to our commercial portfolio. Next, please. We were able to now expand into high-end developments. Next. I would say beautiful developments like this one in Cebu that we just finished in Park Avenue. Next, please. We evolved into townships. I was going to say, Lorraine, we're neighbors here in Davao. That's your Wilcon in Matina. And next, please. And housing is still what we feel a big duty. No? There is news out there of oversupply, backlog. But me, on the ground, the Philippines needs more. We need conviction that we need to give the gift of home ownership to our people. They deserve it. No? So that's a mission that we carry with us. So that resourcefulness has driven us. It's driven me. That humility that we have more to prove, more to go. So next. So that next insight that I really learned from my dad. No? How did we, as a small player that had, with a first-generation founder, a second-generation son, no, how did we grow? It was through partnerships. You will be surprised that we have more than 10 joint ventures. In every joint venture board meeting, so imagine in a month, we probably have 6 or 7 board meetings, which is common for my idols like Mr. Sid and other listed companies, but we personally really attend. We value our partners equally. And I think, next please. That partnership is not just about making money, no? It's about transparency, it's about friendship, it's about family. The journey becomes so fulfilling when you're making money, but also building lasting relationships. Many of our joint venture partnerships evolved from 1 project to 2 to 3 to 5. No? And it's not just partnerships with companies, no? It's partnership with academic institutions, foreign institutions like our Japanese partner, and the banking sector, regulatory environment. I believe these are IPO, and there's some familiar faces here in this photo. Next. These are various JVs, and these are mostly large landowners in the Visayas and Mindanao who chose us to take care of their land holdings and develop for them. Next, please. So third insight, now which my father and I really have embraced: be a leader of the highest integrity. This is non-negotiable. This is something from, we're now 1,200 employees. No? When I joined, we were at 20. This is in the KPIs, in our manuals, in our trainings. And why, no? Why? Next slide. So with that integrity, having a culture where goodness is really prioritized. You know, we had this survey last month, a few months ago, this great place to work, and 95% of our employees said they're proud to work with us. We did not reward them with any food or any bonuses. This is independent. We were shocked, no? And it was because we had a leadership that valued integrity, doing the right thing, speaking, walking the talk. And we are shepherded by a very formidable board that includes our chairperson, who is our independent board, Madam Boots, who has created a culture of really good governance with us. So for me, integrity connects to good governance in the best form possible. Next, please. And yeah, we've received various awards thanks to it, like the ACES Awards, Asia Pacific Stevie Awards, various awards that reflect that commitment to integrity. So this is our family, you know, we call it our CLI, Cebu Landmasters family. Next. Fourth insight. This is where it's not spoken a lot, no, but we really feel this. We walk the talk, and we want to be a nation builder. Us in CLI, coming from where we came from, coming from our small size, and now being in a stronger position, we see that business can really be a vehicle to help our country. Like a few weeks ago, I just took a advanced management program at IESE. It's very second nature, that businesses should really help the communities, help the country, help the environment. So we wanted to really put this as a main pillar of what we do. So we are the first Cebuano company to donate. This is not donate 2 condos for informal settlers in Cebu and Mandaue. This is what we do. It's a compliance, but we did more than compliance. So there are over 300 informal settler families relocated from hazard zones, and we're able to give this to them. So our motivation is, how can we do more? We need the business to succeed. We need the business to perform so that we can give more. We can help the country more. So it rewards us in many ways. It builds up the brand, but customers notice this, and they want to invest with us because they see that we just do more than what we need to do. We do more as a nation builder. Next, that's how it looks. The 5-story one in the middle of the city. Next, please. And this is the new one in Mandaue with the residents. So if you pass by Cebu, there is that Cebu International Convention Center. If you're familiar with it, it was in decay, and many informal settlers lived there for the last 10 years. They were victims of a fire, and now they moved to a permanent home thanks to us. So that's a 5-story building. And I noticed, as my last insight, a common word that I think all panelists talked about, being a steward. I'm not sure if we have the same family governance coach. But stewardship is a necessity, or stewardship really separates the best from the rest. And I was so happy to see Doc Bernie, because I picked up a word where dream and your dreams will fall short. Because there was a time when my father kept saying this to us, and I realized it's from one of your retreats. And of course, these are words whispered by San Jose Maria Escriva. So the reflection really is, your dreams will fall short if you really don't find meaning, the better meaning of what you're doing. If it's just material that what you're doing, it's not enough. We have to transcend the materiality of what we do. And thankfully, not just since I was born, but since I started work when I was raised by my parents in a very prayerful, very spiritual, very generous, charitable family, our dreams will not stop short of falling short, because we find meaning. We give back. We want to be one of those good families really that will make a difference. So next slide. Of course, that was us in 2017. Lorraine is my classmate in IPO. We went IPO the same year. I reflect on it. It's been so busy. The last 8 years have been a blur. But I always describe it as the happiest blur possible, where it's so meaningful. We're able to make a mark in Visayas Mindanao. Recently, we opened our office just nearby. Cebu Landmasters, from a small player with over 300 million in assets then, now over 100 billion in assets, spreading our wings, now entering the big world of Luzon. But I always feel like I'm with you, my fellow businessmen, entrepreneurs, in helping our country. And unemployment is down to one of its lowest rates. We are actually in a generational sweet spot, 25 years average age. That's why we attracted a Japanese investor like NTT. There's a lot to be excited about. But what makes me excited if I see companies like my fellow panelists here who are really trying to make a difference, who are united in their family culture. Because you're right, no? Next slide is, this is our young family. So I'm the eldest in the next generation. My father is still 69. I'm not sure if he's retiring at 93. But you know what? When people ask me, what do I feel about it? You know what? If my father can be with me as long as possible, I'm very honored because he's really my mentor. He shapes us up. Of course, a lot of work's being entrusted. He travels now once a month, but he emails every day. Or he's on WhatsApp, no? I think the older generation might not be tech savvy, but they're very good at WhatsApp and Viber, huh? They're on it more than the young ones. But I think, thankfully, we have our family governance in place. Even if we're a young family business, we have our constitution, even a shareholders agreement. So I cannot break any rules or else I'll lose some shares. So it's a great moral and legal obligation that the family was committed to. So CLI is one of those advocates. We're here for the long run. And it's important to take care of that stewardship both on the corporate governance side and the family governance side. And with that, I'd like to thank Chair Phil for allowing us to share these insights. And good afternoon again, everyone.
Siyempre, pagkakataon na natin to with Mr. Sid, so we'll throw you the first question, sir. Someone in the audience, I will not name who, has asked me to ask you if you think that it is about time for the country to have a president who is adept at running a conglomerate, who has been able to expand, someone like you. At magtatayo na daw siya ng, I don't know, Sid for President. Sir.
I think the role of the a political president is far more difficult than being the head of a conglomerate. You know? The issue of foreign relations, peace and order, defense, power sharing with the LGU and working with people in Congress, Senate, and it's far more complex, I think. I think the training of a CEO is very different from the training of somebody who should be good at political institutions, is my opinion.
All right. So no. Safe answer. Oh, we're so disappointed. But let me ask you, does your family have a family constitution? Because you talk about the complexity of family and succession.
Yes, we have a family constitution. It's written, but I don't know whether it's followed.
Okay, it's one thing to have one and then to apply it.
Young people cannot internalize the essence of the thing, So it takes time and takes, I think, real world experiences to understand the real meaning of the Constitution. How do you move it? It's not a piece of paper, no? It's a set of guidelines that defines behavior, that kind of thing. Thank you.
And then, since you have the mic, you talk about mentoring your nephews and nieces. How about your own children? Do you have any regret that they are not, are they interested in the business, or do they have roles to play?
My eldest son is more interested in developing his own business than running the business of the family. So, bahala siya. If at any time he wants to work in the company, he's welcome. My daughter is not inclined to, my eldest daughter is not inclined to the commercial side of the world. We're more inclined on the non-NGO, philanthropy, helping communities. So
Good.
And my two other children are still in school. So, okay, thank you.
Okay. Maybe down the line, still about the Constitution, if you do have a family constitution and a family council, which is separate, from the business, maybe we can pass the mic to Lorraine, then Lisset, down the line.
Yes, we have a family constitution, so it's a work in progress. And I echo what Sir Sid said. It's like, when you make a policy, you don't know what's actually happening. So sometimes you write it in the best of intentions, but the actual what's going on, sometimes it's not the same. So it's still work in progress for us. And we have a family council, but it's not very formal. It's basically my father, our founder, and us as siblings to make, discuss matters of work and family and such. So not very formal. But I think I want to emulate. I'm very inspired by his presentation. I need to, I want a university also where I can graduate, leaders from the ground up. I feel very inspired by that. Thank you.
This university is within the company, or do you have one
I
institution?
think it's not a university. It's probably a series of
Like
short courses that
School
you
within the
try
company.
to make people aware of that leadership is critical, empathy, values, sustainability. Diba?
But you do refer to it as a university.
Yes, we try to send people to AIM, to what do you call that, UAP, and some other courses. It's more it's, learning and growth, learning and growth, and more tapered towards the needs of the individual and the specific company.
Right. Lisset?
So yeah, for us, we also have a council, and we also have our own family.
When your father was still alive, did he
No,
start this?
No, we just started it like a few years ago. I've as a person, because I don't know, I am very interested with family corporations, even growing up. When I took my master's in AIM, in fact, my minor was in family business. For some reason, I love reading stories about successful families and families that have not made it. So that maybe in the future, when the time comes, our family might need that experience. Then maybe there's something that I've read somewhere, I've seen somewhere. So during the but to be fair with my dad, during the time that he was still alive, I mean, there was one time, right? There was a international group, the Banyan group. Remember? They were here in the Philippines. They introduced themselves, and they wanted to engage with family corporations. Apparently, during that time, Rain was there with her dad, and I was there with my dad. I actually brought him there just to be able to check whether there's a fit. But yeah, eventually, unfortunately, things did not happen the way we wanted it to be. But of course, we know that he also is into having a good family governance structure. So after he passed, one of the things that we had to do as a family, and I had to look for someone who can help us with it. So that now we are embracing our monthly sessions. We started with a shareholders agreement, because that's, I think, the first thing that we needed to do as a family, because we suddenly became partners, right? And I think the legal terms have to be addressed first and foremost. And then eventually we moved into our code of conduct as a family, and then our family constitution, where my brother, my kuya, actually is the chair. And
Of
then
the council,
of
of
the
the family.
council, of the family council. And then Gen 3, which is our children, have now also signed and drafted their own code of conduct. So I guess that's where we are right
That
now.
young, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to actually make them understand their responsibility as well. I think at least a code of conduct will help them understand how they need to act, or how they need to, do things, and what it is, what this organization is, what the company is for, that they're stewards, that we're all stewards. Nobody owns the company, actually.
Before you pass the mic to Paolo, you edged out your kuya as CEO. How was that decision made?
Wow, for my kuya, it's a lot of humility. When my dad passed, the night he passed, we had to meet as a family together with my siblings. And without hesitation, he said, Lisset now will take over as the chairman and CEO because she has been there for quite some time. And she knows the business and she knows what's happening. It will be unfair if he takes over because he just rejoined the company 3 years prior. So it was so humble of him to do that. He's a year older than me, no? So
If he didn't do that, would you have?
no, I wouldn't. I will follow what the family wants because it's a family decision after all. So on the night of, while we were waiting for all the services, etc., on that night, we already decided what it will look like, and then had to make the announcement in the morning, and we had to call on our executive committee and tell them and announce everything, and then eventually we made the formal announcement in May. Yeah, so that's what happened to us.
Thank you, Lisset.
Thank you.
Paolo.
Yes, so we do have a family charter and a council. Ours is a bit old, actually, so we've been passing it through the generations. I'm fourth gen of leadership
gen ka na.
in the family. But I think what we've done very well is we always match, obviously, values and the structure of how to operate the business, but why the provisions were put into the charter. So it's almost like a running history of all the exciting opportunities and faults that have happened within the family. So each of the entries have a commensurate story that help, bring to life this charter to new members, which is great. And I've found a lot of engagement in trying to influence the charter to support interests of family members that are not in the family business. So how can we use the resources of the family, and in some ways the company, to still give members that don't want to do business or maybe are interested in photography or surfing or journalism, and they still have a way to benefit and to be supported as a member of the family. And lastly,
Who heads the council?
right now it's my mother. And she's always been the rock, in our family, especially when my father got sick and we went through the restructuring. But I was going to add that we've been very interested in family business entrepreneurship. So we've supported the Babson College in Boston just 2 years ago, and they're really focused on creating this entrepreneurial sort of culture within families, which I think is the next evolution to what we're all doing in charters.
Okay, Franco. Such a young company, and one of the first things you did, I remember in our interview, you really made it a point that the family constitution would be formed, right?
Right. So we're, I think, one of the few where our IPO happened first and the family governance happened after. So our consultant was telling, I think we addressed already the bigger complication, but the family governance part is the sensitivity. I would say ownership is never a right. It has to be earned. So we're quite lucky now because there are just father, mother, and 4 siblings. I can only imagine if it's 4 siblings, 20 cousins.
Like the Consunjis, for instance. Ilan po kayo ng Consunji?
30-something?
But ang maganda yun, maraming regalo at mga red envelope. Pakasal. No, but I think...
Sana all.
Yeah, I think... but I think the best advice is really, in times of peace, is the best time to prepare. There was really nothing wrong. I was the only one in the business. My siblings were about to join. But now that we've done everything, it's one of the best decisions we've made as a family. I chair the family council. We have committees in the family council like education. My sister handles travel. Importante naman to have a good time. And I have also crisis management or conflict resolution I handle. But conflict is basically very minor, thankfully. Basically, my job is to drag Boss Joe to our meetings because he's very busy. So I think the learning is ownership's never right. We do have a very nice vetting policy. We earn our shares based on performance over time. Thankfully, I think I vetted everything already for myself. My siblings still have to prove themselves and earn it over time. And then, I think it's something, the next generation namin is still, the eldest is still 9 years old. So we have a lot of time to brainwash them to be interested in the business or to appreciate the impact that a business can do.
Sid, when you succeeded your father, was it, you know, automatic? I mean, there was no one else who he would have passed it on to.
Actually, after UP, I first worked for the construction company. Ang problema, design ako sa design. Kaya ako umalis ng UP dahil ayoko na ng final exam eh. Yung design parang araw-araw.
Final exam.
Final exam, no?
So, yung
I-
iniiwasan
so I-
nyo, ganun din
No,
pala.
I went into logging. We had a small logging company, and because I came from AIM, I started buying bankrupt companies and turning them around until 1981, and my dad asked me to go work for DMCI. And I worked for DMCI. After that, I found out that the construction company is a roller coaster ride. Too many jobs, and then no job. So too many job, no job, and it's not and that's why we went public to create a better business cycle. No? But anyway, going back to what do I like to be my successor? Sabi ko, parang acronym ko, CARS.
Cars.
C, competence.
Okay.
They have to be competence, di ba? I go, A, attitude. Di ba? The attitude is when you have problem, try to make everybody win. Win as much as possible. Great. And then the R is resourcefulness. Kasi we don't know what kind of problems we're going to solve. So you have to learn to think on your own, di ba? Be creative, and so forth. And of course, last is S, sincerity, you know. So, sabi nga ni Warren Buffett, intelligence and energy without sincerity will kill you, no? So I honestly believe in that. So like what Franco was saying, you know, so.
So you're mentoring several, I suppose, and eventually will choose one.
I don't really know. We have, we let each company run their own. So maybe it's just finance and the holding company, just being aware of business, because we don't tell the operating companies how to run their own businesses. Otherwise, doble staff mo, dadami na ng trabaho. So we don't really know, but most probably we'll have finance and legal people in and people who can spot opportunities. I mean, being a manager and being able to spot opportunities is, I think, two different skill set. It's not the same. What you study in MBA is management. What people study in real work experience is how to make money, how to create money, which is a completely different skill set, my opinion. I don't know what other people's opinion is.
You know, we read about Rupert Murdoch, and how even they say the scriptures of succession could not envision the squabbling of his children. Yeah. Is this scenario
I think the most
unique?
painful fight is a fight among stockholders. So my parents created a structure that on the equity side, we're all equal. Even though I run the company, our equity as family is all equal. If you work, then you get paid as a professional
your own salary.
manager and so forth. And
Pero
our
ang magkakamag-anak, pare-pareho lang ang
well,
ang
people who,
ownership.
our
share.
nephews and nieces and children, if they don't work in the company, they get no salary. They get no allowance. Bahala ka sa buhay mo. So,
Pero meron silang shares.
no, we receive dividends. It's up to us to give them dividends or not. Sometimes we are generous, sometimes we're not. So
This generosity is not based just on income or on the balance sheet?
our dividend is just enough to make the family survive, because we want to maintain something in the holding company, because the Philippines is a very capital deficient nation, and it's extremely difficult to amass significant resources. So if you're able to be in a position to manage significant resources, it's your obligation to use it properly and use it for to better society as much as possible. I mean, sabi nga doing well while doing good, di ba?
Does it necessarily have to be a family member to succeed?
I don't think so. We have 5 companies, and DMCI Homes run by a professional manager, Freddy Austria. DMCI Power is run by Tony Gadula, not a professional manager. DMCI Mining is the first company that's been run by a 3rd generation, Mr. Das Reyes, and he's doing very well. All of them are doing very well, as a matter of fact. So I don't have any line responsibility. Tamad na ako eh. Kaya ako na.
Anong advice nyo dito sa mga young guns and our
Actually,
lady CEOs?
I'm very fascinated. Their presentation was extremely well prepared, especially the 2 ladies, 2 women. I think this topic has been something it's quite serious. Everybody thinks about. My opinion is that, but I think that what they're doing is correct. That when you work, you have to think about who will replace you every day, not only at the end of your career. Di ba? If you think of it at the end of your career, you're already too late. Di ba? I mean, tingin ko lang. I don't know.
Would you like to respond down the line? Or please interject at any one point. Let's not make it, if you need to.
Actually,
Franco, go ahead.
ako, I'm 46. So, since I hit 45, parang sabi ko, 15 years na lang, 60 na ako, sir. So, inisip ko, actually, I was thinking, who will replace me? Parang, I don't know what changed. Parang, there was really parang medyo timely itong topic to sa Sharefield. Parang, I don't know, is it morbid ba or what? Maybe I just want to retire early. Baka ganun. So, parang, I always think, who will replace me? Who will replace my leadership team? Not that I want to replace my leadership team, but succession planning really is part of the sustainability resiliency of the company. So I think that's a very important thing to think about.
Lisset? Oh, okay, Paolo.
Yeah, that did resonate well with me. Within the company, maybe I'd share from my perspective, my concerns engage shareholders, because there's also that level of the family and the shareholders that needs to be succeeded, right? And so it's always this balance, and so I found that comment about the dividends funny, because you don't want to give too much that there's a disincentive to work and a creation of some entitlement, but you also want to give enough that they feel connected to the business and they're interested in the success of what you're doing, right? So it's this constant juggling that I find myself focused on. This changes with each generation. I mean, as they enter, when they're young and they don't have families, it's one mindset. The minute they enter the family needs, it changes. The minute they're retiring, it changes. And so you're just constantly juggling these personalities as the family leader. And it's fun.
Fun.
It's fun. It's very engaging.
Yeah, I think my side, I'm still 39.
You're also young. What do you mean?
So I'm not thinking of retirement for sure. I'm in fact very motivated. If I can give my parents or my dad more confidence that he can enjoy as much as he can, that's the best gift I can give him. That he is confident with the team, my team, professional team, that he can relax doing his Camino hikes without looking at his phone for a single day.
But he goes
Then,
every year, right?
Every year, 3 weeks. But he still emails, still replies. But basically, I think we did a good job because I really understand how founders are, meaning it's something they created from nothing. No? So I feel the weight on their shoulders. I feel Mr. Consunji's weight. But I feel responsible for it too. I feel that I have to continue the legacy. I have to work harder. But of course, I like what Lorraine said about yes, it's hard to fill the shoes, but I think it's more of the journey with them, no? To continue the journey as best as we can. And there are many ways to fill the gaps. Now, we're very lucky to have a very big professional team. I'm with my CFO here, Grant. We're very busy, but we're really a team. And I think we've continued to beef up where we can.
Do you have a son?
It's 9.
Oh. Yeah, but what is your own dream for your son? Do you want him to succeed you?
Now that I'm in my position, if I have 4 children, 9, 7, 5, 2, if all of them can be interested in the business, then I'll be very happy. Because having family in the business who are qualified, who have that, I like that cars, competent, resourceful, attitude, sincerity, that we
Okay.
relate to that. If they can all be cars, good education, I'd love to have in the business because there's really a different dynamic with family. There's trust, the motivation. So I will want to brainwash them.
Yes, I was gonna remind you
Yes.
that that's the word you use. Kulang ba kayo sa brainwashing sa mga anak niyo, sir?
Yeah, hopefully.
Actually, we don't do any of that. It's you learn by osmosis, without being very direct, indirectly. Ano naman,
Yeah.
bata
Hindi
naman,
dinidikta.
they catch on pretty fast.
Right.
Di ba?
When you were doing your own thing, you said you were buying bankrupt companies, turning them around, and then your father asked you to join. Was there any hesitation at all during that time? Did you want to pursue your own?
No, I was an aberrant student, so I quit school for 1 year and I worked for a motor pool for minimum wage.
Motor pool?
Yeah, and I get my salary on a Saturday afternoon.
Anong trabaho?
Tuesday night, wala na akong pera.
Ano pong trabaho niyo sa motor pool?
No, I used to be a mechanic, purchaser, that kind of. So I told myself, if I don't study, I'm probably not going to have a good life. My father said, you don't want to study? Don't study. Bahala ka sa buhay mo. So I went back to school. Yeah. Then when I started working as an engineer in DMCI, I found out there's very little you can do in operations. But the value creation is transformation. So we can turn a bankrupt company into a profitable company. That's a very big value creation. So a lot of what we do in the DMCI is turning around companies to create value. When we took over Semirara, it was negative equity. When we took over Maynilad together with Manny Pangilinan, it was not making money. Okay, we took over the nickel operations that we operated, it was not making money. Then we turned them around. The other companies we built from scratch, DMCI Homes and then DMCI Power. No? So that's why hindi ako naniniwala masyado sa operation as a value creating process. It's really transformation that creates a lot of value. I don't know what the comments of these other people are. So.
Any comments to what Sid said? Lorraine? Lisset? Paolo?
Yeah,
In a way, that's what you did too, right? Or you're doing.
Yes, and if I was going to look back, I think a lot of us also have to take a hard look at our businesses, right? Are we in industries where we can compete over the long term? I mean, like I mentioned, our job is to look down 2 generations, 1 generation. And if we are not in a space, you are saddled with a legacy company, you are in an industry that's in decline, when are you going to make the move? So there's a need to reinvent. There's a need to have that entrepreneurship mindset for the sustainability of the business. And I don't think you get that through middle management. I think you get that by having visionaries and people that are willing to take risks. Usually family members in these family corps, because they're the ones that can face the board when they lose money and kind of still have a job, right?
I'd like to, if you have, yes, sir. Please approach na lang the stage and... yeah. Here. Quick question.
Hello, Alexis Gucha. I'd just like to congratulate Boss Sid on his 50th anniversary with the MBM class of 75. Your classmate told me that your family is descended from Confucius. And confirmed. Okay. I have two questions. One is especially if you're listed, you have the pressure for short-term profits to show the public shareholders. But at the same time, WASISIP and even the SM Group say the family-owned corporations think more long-term than the really public corporations. So how is that manifested in your respective companies? And the more important question for me is yung testing by fire. Boss Sid has done this, gone through this several times sa Mirara. The latest one was when the big pile in Semirara buried a number of people and you were hands-on. And the most typical epic moment of this was when Lance-Gokong Wave was just new, 30 years ago, and that plane crashed into the mountain. That was his baptism of fire. So what was the lesson, Sir Sid, on that? And what is the equivalent moment of baptism of fire that you have encountered, and what were the lessons?
Okay,
that
those
you
are
learned?
two questions already.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
I think the most painful business crisis we had was the Asian crisis. We went IPO in 1995. We spent all the money we raised in buying companies, buying land, and so forth. And then we even floated bonds and keep on buying. We did not anticipate the liquidity crisis that comes when the banks nationwide does not lend money, not only to your company, but insists in getting paid, and will not lend money to anybody, you know. So then I realized that being illiquid is really a catastrophe and can lead to bankruptcy more than being insolvent and liquid. Because if you're insolvent and liquid, you can still turn around the company. Okay, so to me, that's the baptism of fire. So, after
Lakasan nyo pa, ang hina naman.
So we got out of that by asset sale. We did a follow-on equity of Semirara. And we raised 2.8 billion. In 24 hours, it was gone. Binayaran namin lahat ng utang. We had a smiley party to prove to people na we didn't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. And then all of a sudden, the bank's attitude changed. Everybody wants to lend you money. Ibang klase ng mga bangko eh.
Sino?
They will lend you
Pero
money
wala
when they
naman-
can pay the
wala
money, but when
naman-
you need the money, they won't. Except
naman-
Mr. Bashmara. I went to his office and said, "Look, I can't pay you. Here are the titles of." He says, "No, don't pay me. You survive first."
Lisset, I would say your baptism of fire was, when your father just passed away so suddenly in that accident.
Yeah, so that was April of 2019. Our dad passed away suddenly. Then we know what happened in March of 2020, right? COVID happened. And in fact, it was not even just about COVID. We had shortage of chips, etc. We are in the automotive industry and we were greatly affected. So it was really, really a true test of how, as a company and as siblings, as partners, to work things out together during that very, very difficult time. I clearly remember when COVID happened, I never stopped dressing up and working as if every day is work day. So I would still get up in the morning and, do my own thing. I wear my clothes for work, etc., even if there's just a few of them, because I was luckily in Pampanga at that time. So I live here in Manila, but I was in Pampanga at that time. So I only was able to bring in a few items. But I would make sure that I would face the Zoom calls in my ID, the way I would do in an office, just not to lose the momentum together with the team. So it was kind of difficult because we have emotional baggage. We have an emotional baggage we're carrying. We have now a company that we need to make sure it stays afloat and that we get through every step of the way. So it was the most busiest time. But I look at it as a blessing, in fact. I always tell people that for me, the pandemic was a blessing. Because when we took over as a family in 2019, everything, the economy was doing so well, the automotive industry was doing so well, and we didn't have time to actually catch up. We were really racing against time and understanding things. But everything in 2020 slowed down. That gave us an opportunity to catch up. So I felt that was a blessing more than something that we had a challenge on. So I was actually, for me, sorry for everybody, but I actually found the pandemic a blessing for all of us. So now that we're more on the, we're quite stable already as an organization and as a family. So yeah, we're glad that is over.
Parting shots to all of us about succession and growing the company, legacy, etc.
Yeah, so thanks again to Chair Phil, and very, very honored to be with Mr. Sid and my fellow panelists here. Yeah, I think succession is really about earning it. It's proving ourselves, and then it's about walking the talk. I'm really a believer in integrity, in helping the country, and I'm just so lucky to be in this position we're in. Cebu Landmasters is evolving, no? There's a question about, yes, I'm preparing for the long term. We're diversifying, we're building up recurring income, we're in multi-cities, but there's a lot of work. No, I think it needs extra effort to balance, no? The work life, the family life, the spiritual life. So important to balance, have a strong part. Well, I'm lucky to have a very supportive wife, and not forgetting to have fun, no? Those relationships, those partnerships. I have golf tomorrow as part of enjoying while I'm building up this busy company for the long term. Thank you. Thank you again, everyone.
Paolo.
Thank you. Looking at the panel and, of course, those in the room, I feel that since we're focused on succession, we also have to remember that we are leading these organizations that we're in. And so I think to the world now, the national security interests of our country are challenged. The world has become quite polarized. D&I initiatives, climate initiatives have all been pulled out. So as leaders, my throw out there is as a leader and a family business member, what can we do to continue these initiatives? I mean, we're looking down 50 years. Just because there's an administration that does not support gender initiatives or climate does not mean that we have to follow step. So there's a lot that we can do. We've not solved the inequity in our country. There are a lot of challenges ahead, and I know how hard it is because even I go to work every day. I'm trying to figure out the next generation, the technology, what's happening in the world, how it's affecting industries. But every little bit that we can do helps. And I think when we look back at our lives, like Mr. Consunji, hopefully it gives us the peace and the satisfaction that we contributed as best as we could in what time we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo.
So for us, it's really complex working for a family business because you have to juggle both family and the business. There are emotions, there are relationships that needs to be actually kept, more than anything. Right now, actually, almost every day, I really think about my successor because I don't want to make the same mistakes as what we've encountered. I wanted a clear picture and a clear timeline to be able to pass on the baton to the next generation. Quite lucky that my youngest sister is 10 years younger than me, so that gives us enough space, and that the eldest in the grandchildren is actually 23 years old, so that gives us a lot of space. And if ever a family member would choose to take on the lead, then we're quite happy and we're quite lucky. What we are focusing right now is to ensuring that the legacy of our dad does not go away. We always celebrate his legacy in any way we can, because we know for as long as we keep his legacy alive in our hearts as a family, we will never go wrong. Otherwise, we won't have a North Star as a family business. So that's why we talk about him all the time. We celebrate his life, the time he has been with us. So I know he is still guiding us and helping us out in this process, because we are all stewards, as I mentioned. We never own the company, and we always put that in mind, because it's something for us that we need to do as family owners and business owners, to be able to pass on the baton to the next generation and the next generation, regardless if it's family member or not.
Thank you, Lisset. Lorraine?
I suppose it's to answer the question of what keeps me up at night. And I would say that I try, or I look to how to grow from strength to strength as an organization, as a family, for our employees, our shareholders, our stakeholders. Maybe not necessarily for short-term gains, that was a question for IPO companies, but really long-term, what does it look like to grow from last year to this year, myself, my leadership, my family, and everyone in the organization. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Sid, last word.
Well, first of all, Chairfield, thank you very much for being invited. I'm very honored. And Seth for
Thank you, Sid.
being a moderator, and my fellow panelists for sharing your invaluable experience. No? As a manager, my biggest regret is by non-recognition of the importance of human resources. I've been concentrated in getting things done, but the human side, it's only lately that I realized is fundamentally more important than anything else. Because I think wealth is a product of the mind, and building organization is the biggest challenge of a manager. Sustaining that organization with good values, and what Steve Jobs says, stay hungry, stay foolish. I think very, very powerful, simple statements. I think it's something that's very important, and it should not only be on the CEO level. It should be in all levels. It should be a culture of the company. Thank you.
Now, may I invite the board? You will be taking your oath with Mr. Sid Consunji.
State your name. Having been elected as Shareholders Association of the Philippines, do solemnly swear to abide by and uphold its Constitution and bylaws, to commit and put into practice its core values and noble tenets of fairness, accountability, independence, transparency, and honor. I likewise pledge to advance the interests of the investing public, to which this association is dedicated, and to conduct myself in a manner befitting the true proponent and advocacy of good governance, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations.
Your guidance lights the way, and now it's time. Now I'm ready to take the lead today. Oh.